Well, hello everyone, and welcome again to another edition of the ETBU Men's Basketball Coaches Show with head coach Burt West, whose team is busy preparing this week for the American Southwest Conference Men's Basketball Championship Tournament that will be going on down in Belton, hosted by University of Mary Hardin Baylor. We'll talk about that a little bit more in depth here later on, but Coach, regular season is in the books. You talked last week about wanting to finish strong, and depending on how you look at it, last week was probably not as enjoyable as you would have liked, finishing up with two losses on the road, very tight loss on Thursday at Louisiana College, and then just one of those days at Mississippi College in the regular season finale. Before we move on to the conference tournament, let's just talk a little bit about the road trip last week and your impressions of it, if there are any.
I apologize for laughing. That was the understatement of the century. I was quite the opposite of the way we wanted to finish up. Just not pleased with hardly anything about the trip except the kids' behavior. Kids behaved great. They played with intensity. They tried. We didn't play well enough. I just wasn't pleased with anything about the trip, though. So, and you know, I'm not as excited about going into the tournament. It's more like we're determined now to finish this season the way we want to. Our team was young and didn't know what to do, and opened the season 2-5. Then we got on a bit of a roll and went 10-1 through the middle of the season, and now we finished the season 2-5. And it seems like we're probably not mature enough, not physically strong enough, don't have enough know-how to deal with being a little bit in the lead and everybody after you and playing with that extra motivation. And so I'm hoping we've learned some of those lessons, and we get to be the underdog again. We are not the favorite in our first tournament game, and if we're fortunate enough to win it, we'll be a decided underdog in the next game. And so on. And so that may be what we need to get that pressure off our back and just continue to gain experience. But, you know, it lost two key players, you know, one after like 10 games and then one with right before the first UT Dallas game. And looking back, that depth, that experience, that scoring ability, that know-how from those two older players, that would have really helped this team down the stretch, and I'm really pleased with what the team accomplished, and for such a young group to be in the tournament and this early, it's all good. It's all good. I guess our expectations are greater than that right now, so we're gonna really get after it and see if we can finish well.
You mentioned the expectations, and this is the first time in the history of the program since it's been a member of the American Southwest Conference that ETBU has advanced to the conference tournament 3 consecutive years. You've done it a few times, back-to-back years, and you had an off year in between there. And you go back to that, talking about putting pressure on down the stretch and people coming after you. There's a little bit of a mini tradition there. This is back-to-back years where you finished just under UT Dallas in the conference standings in second place, right there on the cusp of winning the division. And so that does put a little target on your back, doesn't it?
I think maybe so, and this team had no way to really prepare for it. They didn't know what was coming, and you can tell them, but it's not the same when you roll into Ozarks, and they've got a big crowd and a hyper team that shoots well and plays well at home, and UTD and Louisiana College and Mississippi College, and kids really did a great job to win at Tyler and to win at Louisiana and to win at Laterno. So it's not like it's all been downhill. It's just it's not what we wanted. We just didn't meet my expectations, and I think maybe that will serve us well in the long run. But there's no way to measure at this point in time how much our young team has learned and how valuable this experience is going to be for them.
Well, the Tigers did officially finish 14-11 on the year. That was the number 2 seed in the ASC East. Of course, that standing had been locked up just a couple of weeks ago before last week's road trip. The Tigers' first game at the ASC tournament will be on Friday at 5 o'clock down there in Belton against the number 3 seed from the West Division, McMurray, which just happens to be the defending champion of this tournament. So the Tigers have a pretty tough draw, a tough first matchup there. Going back to the game earlier this season that ETBU played out in Abilene against McMurray, it turned into a 22-point loss at that point back in early December, which is a little misleading having been there and watched it. Tigers actually had a 1-point lead at the half over McMurray, and the Warhawks came out and played pretty well in the second half and kind of opened it up there late. But what has your team learned, you think, over the course of the last couple of months that you think might help you going into this rematch?
Well, if I could approach the question from the other angle first, I spoke yesterday with 2 different coaches on the West Division, and they both feel that McMurray may be the best team in the West at this particular point in time. I think Mary Hardin Baylor has a couple of injuries, one of them that may not be back for the tournament. And McMurray, with all that experience and those solid rebounders and players, and so it was a tough draw. But I think I look back, they out-rebounded us worse than anyone did all year. I remember the rebound count. It was 52-28. That is a whipping on the boards. And the interesting thing is they out-rebound everyone that badly. They out-rebound their opponents like 18 a game. That's just unheard of. And they beat us soundly back when we played them earlier. They played in a tougher division, I feel like, than we did. And they have a better record than we do. I'm not sure, but I've got a sneaking suspicion they might be a little better than us. So we're just going to have to go after them.
Well, other than the seeding, the numbers do point that out. And you mentioned a few moments ago your team back in that underdog role. And as strange as it seems to say, a number 2 seed against a number 3 seed, but that probably does fit the bill a little bit. You guys have to be considered an underdog here.
Yeah, I think this year they probably should have took 6 from the West and 2 from the East and made the tournament better. That West Division was so strong this season. But I've got an idea, got a plan, and a plan of attack, so to speak, that we're going to try against McMurray, and I'm confident that our team's going to play hard, and I can only hope, if they'll play to their potential and shoot well. I've got to feel good that we've got a chance to win the game, and it really doesn't matter that they're better than us. We can do nothing about that. But they've got to be better than us for 40 minutes on Friday, and that's the key.
Well, the thing is, and it goes into any tournament situation over a short weekend, anybody at any point can catch fire. That's been proven, especially in this tournament over the years. It's not necessarily who the best team is, who the best team is for that weekend. And you just need to be better that weekend or that particular day. Isn't that right?
That's no question about it. And even by halves sometimes. I watched Baylor-Texas game last night, and Baylor was terrible the first half. And they had, 9 or 10 turnovers and shot it poorly and threw it away. Couldn't rebound. In the second half, they didn't have a turnover for 18 minutes. Shot it much better, rebounded better, and, came from behind and won the game. And so... But I'm ready. I feel good about the team. I should be much more pleased than I am right now, and maybe after the season's over, I'll be happy about it. But I just see lots of potential in this group, and things may need to fall our way, and maybe things will. But someone made a comment one time. I think it was you. When you play the Tigers, you better get ready for a battle. And we'll play 40 or we'll play 40 plus. It doesn't matter. So I feel good about our team, and I'm excited about going to play. Finally, I'm now just getting excited about it.
Well, again, just kind of giving everybody out there a quick rundown. The Tigers game, again, will be the first of the evening session on Friday at 5 o'clock, ETBU and McMurray. There will be a morning session. UT Dallas will play Shriner at noon. And then Hardin-Simmons and Louisiana College go at it at 2:30. And then following the Tigers and McMurray will be the host team, Mary Hardin Baylor, which is ranked 5th in the nation, actually going into the playoffs. will host Mississippi College, which took the 4th seed in the ASC East. Real quickly here, Coach will give everybody their ticket prices. It's $8 for adults, $3 for student. Of course, they'll have tournament passes and all those kinds of good things. Check everything out on our website. I'll have that up there hopefully later today, so everyone can get all the information they need. Coach, one final word here. I know you guys have tried to put last week behind you, even though you went in there with some high hopes. What was the mood of the team coming back to practice this week? I know you got a young team who's really not been in this situation before, going into a college playoff atmosphere. Where do you feel right now your team is? You mentioned you weren't quite excited, but where's your team at right now?
I think they are excited, and I think they don't know what to expect. They didn't know what to expect, so they gain and learn from every experience, and so I know what is possible. I knew what could happen last week, and that's not what I wished to happen, but I knew that could happen, and it did. And so right now, I'm focused on one thing only, and that's to be sure they're in great shape mentally, be sure they're rested physically, and you got to believe. You got to believe. Maybe this time next week we'll be sitting here talking about the Tigers as ASC tournament champions.
Well, that is certainly what we're all hoping for, and hopefully we will be able to have that discussion next week. Coach, good luck this weekend, and we will talk to you next week.
Thanks, David.